All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Youth Advisory Board chat. My name's Michael. We're really happy you're joining us today. This is going to be posted online. So we are here talking today about resilience. I know 2020 was crazy. We're in 2021 right now. So we have a treat. We have Jake, Emily, and Allie, fellow Youth Advisory Board members here to give you the real scoop on how to keep things moving when times are tough. So I'm going to have Emily, Jake, and Allie just say a quick introduction, and then we'll get things started.
My name is Emily Ball, and I am a member of the Youth Advisory Board, and I'm 28 years old, and I'm from Wallingford, Connecticut.
Thanks, Emily.
Hi, I'm Allie, and I will be 29 on the 23rd this month. And I'm from Stratford, Connecticut.
Hello, my name is Jake Shumbo. I am 22, and I am from Colchester, Connecticut.
Thanks, Jake. All right, so first question, Emily, going to you first. Can you share with us maybe one of your biggest failures and how you dealt with it?
Oof. My biggest failures. I have a lot to choose from. Well, one that I have to say that, is more of a personal / academic failure that I sort of still regret is I was going through some mental health challenges in one of my early college semesters, and I totally bombed an exam, and my professor very kindly suggested that I could retake the exam, but because of my mental state, I refused, and that sort of brought my grade down or something along those lines. So I still really regret not advocating for myself and owning up that mental health can be wonky sometimes and that I was given a second chance. So my advice to anyone that will be battling that sort of thing is if someone offers that to you, take them up on it. Don't be like me. That was that wasn't a very smart choice.
No, thanks for sharing, Emily. And so I know, obviously you're super smart and you're a great student. So I think that kind of, as we'll all hear about tonight, I think there can just be so much pressure on students, on young adults. We'll keep talking about that. Thanks for sharing. Allie, how about you?
I think for me, it's hard for me to figure out a failure because for so long in my life, I looked at everything as failures and it hindered me so much. So now but I feel like I've always been a failure to just my protecting myself and when it comes to taking care of me, because I've always am known to put other people first, or I don't stand up for myself, or I don't know how to say no, or I don't know how to say yes, or whatever. And I feel like I really had let myself down the most when I had a relapse after I was sober for a good amount of time and went through some pretty tough stuff. I had a relapse that no one expected, including myself. So that felt like a big failure of my recovery and letting myself and my own promises down. But I think I don't see it as a failure anymore because I learned from it and I grew from it, and now I'm able to help other people. So it's a lot less frightening to look back on. I'm able to look at the growth, and now I look at it as being a stepping stone for where I needed to be in a better place.
Mm. No, I love that. I think a gem I picked up from that, Allie, is you really flipped what was negative to a positive. So you learned and grew from that experience. And that's what
Yeah,
resilience is all about. And Jake, how about you? What has been a failure for you and how did you overcome it?
I wouldn't really call it a failure. It was more of a challenge. I haven't always had a disability. Mine was acquired after an accident, so it was a huge challenge and adjustment to my life. Everything that I could do before was very difficult and or if not impossible to do after. So I wouldn't say it's bouncing back since my life isn't how it was, but I have found a new road. That road has led me to new opportunities and new experiences, which have been very positive in the end.
Thanks for sharing, Jake. I mean, what I'm really hearing from that is acceptance and gratitude. You had a lot that happened to you, Jake. And, from just everything you're sharing, anyone who knows you knows you're just a super positive guy. You're always ready for the next thing upcoming, the next whatever's going on. So I think you're very inspired. You're all inspiring to anyone who's going to be watching this. So thanks, Jake.
Thank you.
Emily, back to you. Could you share a little bit more about how you cope with pressure? Again, I know we're still in the pandemic. It's been so nuts.
Okay. Got this one. The way that I cope with pressure is just tackling it head on. Like I'll see myself in my anxiety because I have generalized anxiety disorder and a mood disorder as well. I'll notice that I'm like slipping and I just, which is not good, but I try to ignore that and like push through it until it gets to be too much. And then after a while, I have to like take a step back and regroup and then come back and then it'll be fine again. But then I remember that like I've been very good. It took me 6 years to graduate college. So I'm very good at handling a lot simultaneously. So I would say that under the right circumstances, I do very well under pressure. I just sometimes forget to take a breath and, take a break every once in a while.
And I don't mean to throw you for a new question, Emily, but you shared a lot. You shared about coping skills. You talked about time management. I mean, did that always come easy? Because I know you're obviously, you can handle so much, but was there ever a moment you like didn't have those skills and you needed to learn more?
Yeah, I would say, I don't remember exactly, but I would say that there are times and there have been times and there still are sometimes, not so much anymore, that I really do struggle with like time management because I'm more of like a yes person. Like I'll say yes to like literally anything regarding anything in a professional context rather. And like I don't realize when to say no, and then But then I've learned that there are certain things that have to be put on the back burner, and then I just, like, the time management is really works well, because if I have 2 important things to get done, I'll do one in order of importance, and then I'll tackle the other one. That's kind of how I've, like, worked through school. Like, that's how I got all my assignments done and things of that nature.
That's great. You really learn to prioritize. I had to learn that one, and I still need help in kind of, doing what's important and not letting something slip. Allie, how about you? Can you share? Oh, yes, Emily?
Oh, sorry. It also helps that, like, I set reminders for myself all the time.
I do the same thing.
Yeah.
The amount of reminders I have consistently on my phone and in sticky notes is unreal, and I'll still forget. It's ridiculous. Siri is my friend because I always just shout something into my phone and say, hey, remember this at this time. I think I can relate to a lot with what Emily said about just remembering to breathe. For coping, I always thought that the whole idea of breath work, I used to mock it. I used to be like, what do you mean you just breathe through this stress? Like, you guys must have some very minimal stress. If you can breathe and it's okay and you're fine afterwards. But it wasn't until I was forced to put it into practice where I learned, like, oh, wait, this actually seems like it would be more working than I expected. It calmed my nerves, it calmed my heart rate, it calmed everything. And then I was able to allow breathing to be something that I jump right into when I'm having a panic attack or getting triggered or any other symptoms are coming up. Any coping skills I've learned through other people, peers who have gone through the same thing. I've just tested them all out, the other things that people have done. And therapy is one of my number one resources. And I've learned through therapy that sound healing works well for me. Holistic healing like that, crystal healing, things like that work really well for me. And of course, I can't forget my support team. I have a significant other that's so supportive. I have a great friend. I have a great family. So I think if I didn't have that cheerleading squad, I would not be able to cope with pressure as well as I'm able to.
That's awesome. And what you shared, Allie, I think you shared 2 big things I'm like picking out is just your own self-awareness. So you can really kind of pinpoint when something's going on and kind of stop and shift that. And then I think the other big thing is you really highlighted you're more than your mind. I think maybe a lot of us, we can get caught up in the tornado of like our racing mind and like, oh my gosh, what's going on? So I love how you do the breath work, and you kind of can, you just realize you're more than your thoughts, more than what's going on in your head. So thanks for sharing that. And Jake, over to you. Can you tell us how you cope with some pressure?
Well, for me, humor is how I cope with a lot of things, including pressure. I try to find humor in the situations, or just try to lighten the mood, but it certainly helps me deal with the pressures that I may be feeling.
Jake, that one is it's so simple, but it's so huge, because if you can't laugh at yourself, at life, like there's a phrase I heard, like, if you're not going to laugh, you're going to cry sometimes. So it's just, I love that perspective on life, Jake. Thanks for sharing.
Sure.
So Emily, back to you. So could you share maybe what parts of yourself or your personality help get you through tough times?
What parts of myself? One big thing that I don't really think about too much, but just for a little backstory, I was born 3 months early than I was supposed to be, and I was in the hospital for 3 months just to catch up with a lot of different things, and that a normal baby would. So I would say that like that made my personality like stronger and a fighter and all that kind of thing, because a lot of people look at me and they don't know that I was so medically fragile as an infant. So part of that, and also part of that is I am not the kind of person that just like sits there and doesn't do anything. Like, I mean, I'm basically like, I'm the kind of person that like wants to be doing things constantly. Like, even when I'm not doing anything, I want to be doing something. So I think that's part of like my anxiety, like, so I don't have to think about like my anxiety too much. So yeah, that's about sums it up for me.
Well, you're a fighter from day one, Emily, and you're ambitious and you go, go, go. I love it. Thanks for sharing. Allie, how about you?
Something, so something that someone wouldn't know, you're saying?
Are there any aspects of your personality or just about yourself that really have helped you get through tough times? I know you shared a lot about self-care and awareness.
Yeah. I gotta go with humor too. When Jake mentioned humor, getting through tough times, sometimes my humor can be a little too dark and I have to tone it down sometimes, um but then again it works for me, so whatever. But that I have a very bubbly personality, and outgoing. I can be extremely shy and quiet for sure. But that happy bubbly side of me was suppressed a lot throughout my childhood and throughout my teenage years when I was going through a lot. So I thought about it and I was like, you know what, why not be that bubbly person? I can get back to that. And as I found healing and started working on myself, that natural personality of that bubbly, outgoing, friendly face was easily coming up to surface, for sure. And I think me having that caretaker type personality has helped me a lot in my role, but it's also burnt me out at the same time. So I'm learning kind of how to balance that.
So two things is one, I love that you had a goal and you really set an intention of who you want to become. I think that's such a huge part of personal growth. And I think I agree on humor. I know we're in a professional call, but if you all know me, you guys know like I can have a dark sense of humor too, but I can't really show it right now. So I love it. And Jake, up to you. Can you share maybe anything else about your personality or anything about you that helped you get through tough times?
Sure thing. I'm a pretty easygoing person. So I think that has helped me after my accident. Not that I did not have difficult times that weighed heavily on me, but I think being easygoing and finding the humor in the tough situations really helped me.
I love it. I think what I take away from that most, Jake, is you already shared about humor, but I think we all know people who can maybe be funny but still be really tough on themselves internally inside their own mind. So I love that you mentioned just being kind to yourself. Like at the end of the day, we live with ourselves, and I think you really have to be your own best friend. And I know it's easier said than done some days, but really getting to that place of treating yourself like you would treat your own best friend or someone you care about.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so, Emily, back to you. Can you share a little bit about what you do to practice self-care and wellness?
Okay. Well, part of my self-care is just this is kind of funny because a lot of people consider it not self-care, but I go on Twitter as a form of self-care, and I also watch a lot of like trashy reality TV, and you hear him, but I play with my dog. So yeah, and I also just like I have times where like my brain just like zones out. So even though that's not necessarily self-care, I think that helps to rewire my brain. So I think self-care is really just whatever it means to you and however you feel the need to take care of yourself. Like, for example, like I'm an avid reader, so not so much recently, but I do love to read. So like that escapism is really important to me.
That's awesome, Emily. Thanks for sharing. And you're right. I think when we think of self-care, sometimes we think of the more personal growth, but totally TV, reading, anything goes as long as you feel happier and more relaxed. Definitely.
And also, I I always want to get like a new piercing or a tattoo, so that's awesome.
Treating. Allie, how about you? I know you talked a little bit about self-care already, but is there anything you want to share to viewers right now?
Well, I'm like Emily, where I use my pets, reading. My cats are my life. And for me, the beach is always my safe place. So if I'm really having a hard time or it's a rough day or really gotta, disassociate in a healthy way, I go to the beach and my mind can just get lost at the beach for sure. Or sometimes just taking a walk can help, or just sitting outside and just, taking fresh air, break type thing, or being in the sun. That's always been very helpful for me.
That's awesome. Yeah, nature is so powerful. It's a great healer. Jake, how about you? How do you practice self-care?
I practice it by exercising every day. Usually a few times a day. I've kept my physical therapy appointment in place. I eat well, and I try to focus on the positive aspects of social media. The staying out of politics and the things like that drag you down.
That's awesome, Jake. And I heard from all three of you how you really make self-care a priority. I know I didn't send you this in advance, but is there anything you all could share if someone out there maybe doesn't know how to start incorporating self-care or maybe doesn't feel like it's a priority? Do you all have anything you'd want to share about that? You can just kind of jump in on that.
I think that any hobby that you have already, like you can just like make a conscious effort to tell yourself that you're caring for yourself, even though you don't think about it that way. I mean, self-care is sort of a, notion that like people understand, but they don't understand. So if you make a conscious effort to call it self-care, it'll really sink in that you're caring for yourself.
Thanks, Emily.
Yes.
And for
You're
me, just taking time for yourself to do what makes you feel happy, whether that is listening to your favorite band, or eating your favorite meal, playing with your pet, just anything that really enlightens you and makes you smile.
I love it, Jake. Thanks so much.
I would just say I encourage someone, because I certainly didn't know what self-care was. And I think it looks different every day for people. And sometimes you need more self-care and sometimes you need a little less. And I think to just be open-minded and try different things. Google is your friend. Search for things, ask other people, find out what worked for them and try different things. Don't just try one thing and if it doesn't work, just give up altogether, because it took a while for me to figure out what worked for me, at least. So I definitely encourage people to just keep on going.
I love it. I loved how you were creative, Allie, and you didn't give up and you didn't like try one thing. If it didn't quite work out for you like you wanted, you didn't just like toss your hands up and say, like, forget this. So thanks for sharing that. Emily, back to you. Is there any advice you'd want to give youth and young adults out there who are listening on how they can build resilience?
Build resilience. Okay. Well, part of that is like, don't give up when people are trying to dissuade you from certain things. For example, and I know I've brought this up several times, but it really affected me, so that's why I talk about it all the time. Well, I had a teacher in high school who told me that I would be better off as a Walmart greedo than as, someone who went to college. So, and I really didn't like her after she said that. So, long story short, like, the reason I use her as an example in these types of panels is because, like, me being able to speak to all of you and everyone that will be listening is that, I'm proof that I went through school, even though everyone in high school was basically telling me, oh, you don't need high school, you'd be good at Walmart. Like, it's very upsetting that, like, people think that people with disabilities or mental health challenges are only good in, like, jobs that really don't fit them. I think it's like a really downer to their self-esteem and self-worth.
That's huge, Emily. What you shared about expectations, I think we all talked about tonight, is set positive expectations for yourself. But I think this is a whole nother separate panel we can do. But expectations for youth and young adults with disabilities and mental health challenges, etc., all inclusive. So because that's huge, and I'm really happy you realize that all the haters out there, that's not true, and you're awesome. Thanks for sharing, Emily.
You're welcome.
And Allie, how about you? Any advice you want to give to youth and young adults listening?
Yeah, to know that you're going to go through whatever school age you might be in right now, and you may think that that's it and that's how life is going to be. And I'm here to tell you it's not. It's not going to get stuck. You're not going to be stuck. It may feel that way sometimes, but there's always sun shining above the clouds, I always say. So even though there's clouds, like, there's still a sun up there, and you're going to become so proud of yourself as you grow and look back, and you're going to look back and see all the ways you doubted yourself and other people doubted you, and you're going to be able to look back and be so proud of yourself. And I had a similar experience as Emily did, that you had somebody that was literally in a role supposed to encourage you and support you and be like your biggest cheerleader, especially for your future. Oh my gosh, for a teacher to say that just bothers me. But I've had that same thing where it's supposed to be somebody that's supposed to have your back, and instead they give you some backhanded advice, compliment that's passive aggressive, and then you show them up and you show them out. And I always like to tell people, like, I didn't get to where I am because of you. I got to where I am in spite of what you said to me and how you made me feel, because there's going to be times where you're going to feel horrific about yourself, or someone's going to say something to you that's going to make you feel terrible. But if you listen to their voices and let that become your own, you're going to stay stuck. That's when you will stay stuck. And if you start to realize, wait a minute, no, I am worth it. I am able to do something, and just try. Even if you fail, so what? You could do it again. You try something new. There's always something new to try. There's always something new to be good at, something to find passion of. And as long as you find something that in your heart you feel is genuine and connects with you and resonates with you, then just find a way to do it the rest of your life and get other people involved and impact other people too.
That's awesome. Two things I got from that, Allie, is, I mean, I've shared this before in other panels we've all done, but my big joke is like, I feel bad for the people who peak in high school. Like, if you look back in high school, etc., was like your best years ever. I'm like, what do you have left? Because I had not that great of a high school, middle school experience. I struggled all through, my first, I'm still getting my degree, but early on in my college experience. So you're right that it can feel really overwhelming for a lot of young people out there, and I'm really happy to hear, Allie, how you've overcome that and are doing better than ever. So thanks for sharing. And Jake, last and definitely not least, so what advice do you have for youth young adults?
I think for me, staying positive is a big one. Learning from mistakes and not being afraid to try again or seize opportunities too. After getting knocked down, you need to build your self-esteem back up. That is really important for your success, because if you don't feel you can, you will not.
I love it. I love, Jake, again, how you shared, really, it's what you believe really does come true. So with you thinking positive and setting that goal of what you want, you'll get there. So Allie, Jake, Emily, is there anything else, open floor, before we wrap up for tonight? Anything else you want to share before we close out?
Just in general. Right, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that what a lot of people don't like, people that don't have disabilities or mental illnesses don't understand is that it's a lot of work to be disabled and a lot of work to struggle with your mental health, and people don't know that because we present in like one way to, like, right now, for example, and then in another way not right now. Like, it's two different, it's like I know this is a really bad analogy, but it's almost like we're like Hannah Montana or something. So, and I know that, the people out there won't know what that is, but I think it's a good, yeah, people need to understand that. being able to like use a motorized wheelchair, or like being able to like not take as many courses in college. It wasn't fun for me to not get my degree in the time that other people did. Like I was annoyed that that my mental health forced me to take the play the long game with my college years. But like what it boils down to is basically you don't need to like try to conform to what other people and society as a whole wanting to. Yeah.
Wow, major mic drop from Emily, because I just got a lot of wisdom there. I think a couple things I want to follow up with. I think you said something really powerful where, if I got it correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, Emily, is like a lot of us, which is true, at least for me, is even if you're going through something like this week, I've had like a super high anxiety week. I'm anxious today, but like, again, we're in professional mode now. So I think two things come from that. I think, we all have great coping skills. Doesn't mean it's going to be perfect, but I think all four of us can, for the most part, we're pretty okay with asking for what we need in the moment. But there's a lot of young people out there who may not have those skills yet. So that's why we do what we do. We're going to definitely be in 2021 doing this super huge push of making sure young people are supported. But then the other part of that, Emily, is I think letting others know, especially we all mentioned professionals, teachers, I think there should be a culture of like it being okay to ask direct questions. Like we all have those real chats, like, like every summer, I'm talking about us New Englanders, we have those like fireside chats about life. It might be like a superstar, and you have those super deep, powerful conversations. We need those more often, where people are like, not how you doing, it's how are you really doing, and that's when you like spill the beans. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And like one thing that I don't know if this will be helpful, but I know I'm just probably saying it to get it out there, but like don't be embarrassed to like tell your academic advisor that you have a general anxiety disorder, or like you have a bipolar disorder like I do. Like that was really big for me to like let my academic advisor know that I struggle with that, because as far as he knew, I only have my physical challenges. So like don't be afraid to tell the people that need to know about your mental health disorders, because your mental health disorders really impact you more than you think.
So true. Allie, is there anything you want to share? Open floor.
Not really. Everybody kind of got what I said. Emily killed it right there. But really that's right, that don't be afraid. You can be your own best advocate. There are so many times where I don't realize that I'm going to be the only one that will stick up for myself, and if I don't, no one will. So it might be scary, but you can do it, and there's going to be someone that is going to be influenced by it. I've had plenty of people either message me on social media, alone, or just come up to me or text me or whatever and say, hey, I know I didn't say it out loud, but everything you just said right there, I feel the same way. And I'm so glad somebody said it, because I couldn't. And so, don't be afraid to be that person that sticks up for yourself and sticks up for what's right, because that will grow your character, and your character is going to get you far in life.
So it's like the ripple of the pond. You threw the first stone, Allie, and then it rippled outwards. So I think we all can be the person who, throws the first stone, takes the first action, and makes some changes. Jake, anything you want to share?
Yes, just remember, regardless of your situation, believe in yourself. You are strong and powerful enough to handle your otherwise it would not happen.
I love it, Jake. And with that, I think we covered so much tonight. I want to thank Emily, Allie, Jake. Thanks so much for being awesome, like you all always are. Tonight's been a lot of fun. A lot of people are going to learn from this. So I'm going to shut off the recording, and thanks so much.